Welcome to Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word. And there was a comedian back in the old days. Her name was Moms Mabley. And for those of you who are mature enough to remember Moms Mabley was an older woman, but she had married an old man when she was young. So a lot of her comedic skit was about old men. And Mom said, if you ever see me with my arms around an old man, I'm holding him for the police. And Mom talked about her marriage with this older man. And Mom said one day it just got so bad that she said, look, she told her, said, look, I ain't got but one nerve left, and you done got on that. So today, I speak from Mark chapter 16, verses 17 through 18, and it reads this. And these signs will accompany those who believe. In my name, they will drive out demons. They will speak in new tongues. They will pick up snakes with their hands. And when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. They will place their hands on sick people, and they will get well. Now, I'm in the middle of a series called Peace in the Storm, and the series came out of my youngest son, George, and I. We were in our weekly prayer early in the morning, and God spoke, you shall speak on this series, because at the time, we were actually in the apex, right in the nexus of three converging storms were converging on us at that particular time. And I began asking George, and we alternated in the words for the letters that make up peace in the storm. And P was person. You know, one person often is your peace or your turmoil in life. And you have to learn to sometimes get along and get over this one person. E was everywhere, that you have to have peace everywhere. A was attitude. Often your peace is determined by your attitude. C was companion. E was excellent. And the last message, I was indigo. And today for the letter N, simply nerves. I ain't got but one nerve left, and you done got on that. Sometimes nerves can take away our peace in life. And there are actually three different types of nerves in the body. For those, most people know generally what a nerve is. It is a corded bundle of fibers that carry electrical signals basically from the central nervous system, which is primarily the brain and spinal cord, out to the rest of the body, and then back from the outside world to the central nervous system. And there are sensory nerves, motor nerves, and mixed nerves. And sensory nerves are basically nerves that sense stuff. They come from the outside and bring it back to your brain. Motor nerves are nerves that send signals from your brain to the outside. Basically, it makes stuff move. And mixed nerves do both, which are primarily nerves in the spinal cord. And the bottom line is your nerves communicate from and to the outside world. And how we get our nerves in condition often will determine how we're able to ride through the storm. And I want you to compare the 5 things that Jesus said about believers will exhibit these characteristics just to ordinary life. Jesus says these signs shall follow those who believe. And he named 5 things. And I just want you to compare these with just some ordinary stuff. I was at home a few years ago, and I heard somebody in the house downstairs just hollering, woo, woo, woo! I said, what? And everybody came running out. What? Woo, woo! And all of us came running out to see what was going on, to see what was wrong. I said, what's wrong? And he said, it's a big roach in here. Now, that may sound silly, but roaches get on some people's nerves. And roaches can cause some people to literally almost have a heart attack. Just something just as simple as a roach. We've had situations around the house where there's been a lizard in the house. Or for those of you more sophisticated, a lizard. But when they've got a lizard in the house, I've seen folk just go crazy over a lizard. And the thing about it, a roach and a lizard, at least not the type that's in Georgia, cannot hurt you. A roach may be nasty, and sometimes they're not as nasty as you think they are. They just look real nasty because we're programmed that they're nasty, but a roach cannot, absolutely in no shape or form, harm you. But yet people, if they get a roach on them, they just go crazy. Sometimes they can just hurt themselves, all because of something that will not hurt you. But I want you to compare how people handle some stuff that really can get on their nerves with some of the stuff Jesus told you to do. For example, what about number 3 of the 5 things he told you, where he says they will pick up snakes with their hands? Now, you do know there are some churches in America, and every service they handle rattlesnakes. You all seen it? Raise your hand if you've seen documentaries. Yeah, there are churches in the U.S. right now. It's a church right now with snakes in the church, and they're going to handle those deadly snakes every single service. But the thing about it is this. Now Jesus said they will pick up snakes with their hands, and that's, or the King James, this is the NIV, the King James Version, serpents. They will handle deadly serpents. But this is the thing about it. I believe Jesus meant everything he said. When psychologists have gone in to examine and to test the congregation of the people in churches that handle snakes, what they have discovered is that they are more psychologically well-adjusted and balanced and more at peace than folk who don't handle snakes. Now, many people will look at them and say, they're crazy. No, they're actually following what Jesus said. They will handle serpents, deadly serpents, and it will, not just garden snakes, deadly serpents. They will handle deadly serpents, and it will not harm them. So the thing about it, when they handle these snakes, and the psychologists were trying to figure out why are they so at peace, why are they so well balanced? Because there's not much else in the week that can upset you after you've handled a snake. Now I could imagine if I were to say, we're going to start handling on the first Sunday, we're going to start handling rattlesnakes. Now, and I'm being backed up by the Bible. It's not like it's some crazy. No, this is not Paul. This is not John. This was Jesus who said this. So I would be able to back it up by the words of Jesus. So if I said every first Sunday, and I said, people, we're not even going to go as far as some people. We're not going to have a whole box of snakes. I'm just going to bring one rattlesnake. I'm just going to bring one rattlesnake. And for those of you who may be excessively apprehensive, or just let me break it down plain, scared. For those of you who may be scared, and I'll tell you what, we even going to name the snake. Let's just call him Freddie. So I'm going to bring Freddie in, a rattlesnake, diamondback rattlesnake, and every first Sunday, for those of you who are not excessively apprehensive, you will be able to come down and pick up Freddie and handle Freddie. And based on the words of Jesus, it will not bother you. Now, the challenge with that, even though I would be able to prove by the psychological studies that the churches with members who handle snakes are psychologically better well-adjusted, they're more at peace, they can handle stuff better during the week because they just dealt with Freddie on Sunday. And so you go into work on Monday morning, your boss giving you all kinds of, and why you ain't upset with the boss? Shoot, man, I got to handle Freddie Sunday. This ain't nothing compared to Freddie. I got to handle Freddie Sunday. So, I mean, the boss with an attitude, that ain't nothing compared to Freddie. So when you have to handle something that's really tough, you learn petty stuff doesn't get on your nerves. And for some of you who just real sensitive, your last nerve, petty stuff does not get on your last nerve. And when you really begin to look at life, and that's why travel, it helps you to understand things so much better. And you begin to look at what you are stressing over. And it's small. And I've dealt with 2 weeks ago, father, last week, the Indigo children. And when I look at my 4 children now, I was at a business meeting, and I was sitting at a table with 3 other families. All of these families have multi-million-dollar companies because I'm at a business meeting with that caliber of folk. I'm at the table at a luncheon. It's myself and 3 other families, and none of the families black. All 3 of them had mentally handicapped children. They're not related to each other. 3 separate individual families. And I'm sitting here listening to them telling the issues and the problems that they were having, and all 3 of them had mentally handicapped children who required special schools. And one said, yeah, it's $80,000 a year, but the problem is, once they graduate school, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. And all 3 of them got this. And I look at my kids, and sometimes we get upset because they do a little something out of whack. But yet I can't get that experience out of my head, and therefore I am so thankful that they're just normal. You understand that? And sometimes we can get so petty about stuff. We get petty, and our nerves are tore up about our roach. Cannot harm you. It's all a mentality. And yet Jesus, of those 5 things, 3 of those 5 things are deep and heavy, and they are something that could worry your nerves. If I had to handle Freddie every Sunday, I got to admit, now I am one of the most fearless folk I know. I do a whole lot of stuff, but I got to admit, I'd have a little problem dealing with Freddie every Sunday. And if I had to come in here and deal with a rattlesnake, and he doesn't have his venom set, he's a full, deadly diamondback rattler, and I got to come in here and pick up and handle Freddie. I'll put the slide up on the screen. This is at my son's birthday. That's my oldest and youngest son. Now, that was actually at one of their birthday parties. Now, that's not a poisonous snake. That's a python. And a python can squeeze you to death, but that's not a real big python. This snake is virtually harmless. But if some of y'all walked in y'all bathroom and saw that fella, oh my goodness. But sometimes we overreact and react seriously to roaches. And it gets on our nerves, and it takes our peace, and it's not even a storm. So I've learned in life to just appreciate so much. I travel a lot, and this last week I actually went to the hometown of my grandmother, and I heard God speak, that's where you want you to go. But the odd thing about it, he says, is this. He said, I want you to stay in the cheapest motel you can find. And the cheapest motel was $47 a night. That's pretty cheap. So I'm saying, Lord, you sure you want me? Now, I don't need all this fancy stuff, Lord, but I don't know about this $47 a night hotel. And I went and stayed in the $47 a night hotel. And I think God just wanted me to understand some things. Boy, it's like Paul said, as long as you have food and raiment. He said, I didn't put anything about that where you stay, where you sleep. I didn't put shelter in. All I said is you have food and clothing. You ought to be content. And when I got to the $47 a night hotel, to be honest about it, it was fine. It was clean. It was reasonably modern. It wasn't bad at all. But the point is, we can become, now it had some things that some folk could have been picky about. Didn't have any roaches. But it had some things, the carpet was a little worn and wasn't the newest in the world. Some folk wouldn't have stayed in that hotel just without brand new carpet. Because sometimes in life, our nerves can get so sensitive and we become so picky and we become so, you can get sometimes so highfalutin. You can get sometimes where just the smallest thing in life messes up your whole day. And as a result, we live in a perpetual storm because there's always going to be stuff that's going to be off. And it's going to be going on. So I looked at these things. These things will follow those who believe. And imagine if we did have to deal with some snakes and we had to deal with Freddie, it would be an issue. Do you remember when I was preaching here years ago and there was a wasp buzzing around? And everybody was looking at this big wasp flying around. And I saw all of the heads just following. Nobody heard a word I was saying because everybody was watching the wasp. Do you remember what I did? I held out my hand. The wasp was buzzing around. The wasp buzzed right around and lit and stood right in my hand. And I sat there and preached for several minutes with this wasp in the middle of my hand, and then it flew away and disappeared. Now, the wasp actually could have stung me, but it would have only stung me had I negatively reacted. As long as I was at peace, the wasp was at peace. But if I had said, whoa, whoa, the wasp would have likely taken offense. It would have scared the wasp, and the wasp would have came and stung me. That's what would have likely happened. And see, many of you all, you face situations just like the wasp. If you just calm down and accept some things, you'll be surprised how peaceful stuff will get. Because in truth, when you really look at it, it's not that big a deal. The worst that can happen to you, the worst that can happen is you get stung by the wasp. And if you get stung by the wasp, you take a little alcohol, put it on it hurt for a few minutes, and that's it. Now, if you got anaphylactic shock, you're allergic to bees, that's a whole different ballgame. But that's very, very few people fit that category. So even the worst that can happen is not that bad. But because of our nerves, we live in a perpetual storm because we magnify all these roaches. We magnify all these lizards. We magnify all these wasps. We magnify all these worn carpets. We magnify all of the little things that have no real impact in life, and we fail to recognize all of the so many big blessings that we have. And when that happens, you live in a perpetual storm. But when you recognize what God has given you, there's a peace and there's a joy that comes with it. And the first thing he says, in my name, they will drive out demons. Demons are scarier to me than roaches, snakes, wasps, and lizards. Demons are scary, especially if you got a true demonic manifestation. If you got something like you've seen in the movies, folk just are shaking and hollering and speaking in all kind of other gruff voices, foaming at the mouth. To be honest about it, and Jesus said you should cast it. To be honest, I would have a little excessive apprehension about going down there, touching that person, casting that demon out. I'm just going to be honest with you. I would have to see Elijah to come help me with that. And I would imagine, say, see Elijah, can you come help me with this demon? And they may say, see Elijah at home watching the stream because it's Friday day. So demons are scary. You remember the story, the man went and said, I cast out a demon, and the demon hopped on him? Demons are scary. A real bona fide demon. I remember we had a man here at the church. He's getting ready to cast out some demons. He said, open the door in the back. Open the door real wide, because I'm going to cast the demon out, and the demon going to shoot out that door. Everybody moved away from that door. Everybody cleared out from around that door, because nobody wanted to fool with a fleeing demon that might get on them. I'm not comfortable around the demonic. I'm just not, because the demonic stuff, you got to be really sure about them. Them demons are rough. And this is the first thing Jesus said about those who believe. You're going to deal with some demons. I'd rather be in a whole swarm of bees than one single demon. You're going to cast out demons in my name. You will speak in new tongues. That's a simple one. Nothing scary about that. Then he says, you'll handle snakes. That's a scary one. Then he said, and when they drink deadly poison, it will not hurt them at all. That's another big one. That's another huge one. Do you know there are churches and they literally drink strychnine every Sunday? They drink strychnine, which will kill you. And it doesn't kill them. I've seen the document. I ain't going to visit the church, but I've seen the documentaries on it. Because I'm just not going to, I'm embarrassed to say it, but I just don't have the faith to drink some strychnine and see what happens. I just don't have, I'm a chemist. I understand what strychnine is. Strychnine will kill you. I don't have the courage to drink strychnine. To me, that's a big thing. That's something, if I had to drink strychnine every Sunday, that's something that would truly get on my nerves. But most of the stuff that we have to deal with, most of the stuff that upsets us, we have no business getting upset over. It's minor. And we've got so many blessings. And sometimes with parents, one of the things that can upset them, what their kids are doing, I don't let any of that upset me, because I said, my goodness, I am thankful they're thinking right. I'm thankful they're straight. I'm thankful they're here. I'm thankful about so many things. And some of you the same way with spouses, and you're mad with your spouse. And I've done some counseling. They're mad with the spouse because the spouse didn't squeeze the toothpaste out right. Now, that may sound crazy, but I'm talking about real stuff. This is no exaggeration. Pastor, they don't, I like my toothpaste rolled up where the toothpaste is not, and she push it in the middle. And I'm sitting here and saying, they ain't gonna make it. They ain't gonna make it. They ain't gonna make it. So, and it's because sometimes we let little things get on our nerves. Yeah, your man may leave his underwear in the floor. But it's your flow. It's better for him to leave the underwear in your flow than to leave the underwear in some other woman's flow. Some other woman would be glad to have his underwear in the flow. So sometimes it is a matter of how we view things, and we don't need to let this petty stuff get on our nerves. Because of the 5 things that Jesus said, these signs shall follow those who believe. 3 of them are rough. You got to cast out demons, you got to handle snakes, you got to drink poison. And none of that will bother you. My faith is not at that level. So Jesus, I may not have the faith to handle all them 3, but at least I got the faith to handle this petty stuff I can handle. So if you don't want to handle snakes, if you don't want to drink poison, and you don't want to have to deal with demons, at least handle the petty stuff that the love of Christ ought to let you at least be able to handle forgiving your neighbor. At least be able to handle not holding a grudge. At least be able to handle not fussing. At least be able to handle seeing the other person's perspective. At least be able to turn the other cheek. If you can't handle the big stuff, at least be thankful and say, thank goodness I am at a church where we don't have to handle snakes and we don't have to drink poison. And when you look at life in a different view, it changes stuff. And the final thing, he said, they'll speak with new tongues. They'll speak with new tongues. They'll speak with new tongues. They'll be able to lay hands on the sick. See, these are the two things that are not challenging. You speak with new tongues. And I know he meant, the tongues that you can't understand, but there's a higher level to that. When you can understand the higher principles of Christ, you start talking differently. And you will see things differently. And when you see them differently, the nerves, your sympathetic nervous system and your parasympathetic nerve system. There's one nerve system that slows you down, and there's one that speeds you up. There's one set of nerves that bring stuff in. There's another set of nerves that carry stuff out. When you become in tune with Jesus, you become sensitive about what you allow to be brought into your brain. And because your brain has now transformed and been renewed, what comes out of your brain is different. And it will manifest in the tongue or the way you talk. Nerves. Thank goodness we don't have to deal with this major stuff. The vast majority of stuff that causes storms in our lives are roaches. Scare us to death, have us hollering. But when you stop and analyze this thing, is this thing really that big of a deal? 90% of the time, the answer to that is going to be, not really. It's not really that big of a deal. And when you can look at life without all of this petty stuff messing you up, so many people got so upset about our political situation, about who was president, and it kept half the country happy and half the country sad because of who was sitting in the Oval Office. That's a shame. I ain't ever let a president determine my joy and peace at all. I don't care who's in there. What they got to do with me? He got his own problems. And they really do. They got their own problems. Trust me, they have their own problems. And they don't truly affect you. How you handle these everyday situations is going to have 10 times more effect than whoever's sitting in the Oval Office. Who's sitting in the Oval Office has never broken up a marriage? Ain't broke up no marriages. What has broken them up is who's sitting at home and how you're looking at stuff and whether you're seeing the roaches or whether you're seeing the beauty. It's as simple as that. So people, we need to get our nerves conditioned to the point where stuff does not get on our nerves. And the things that do need to get on our nerves need to be the things of God. They need to be the things of peace. They need to be the things of joy. They need to be the things of beauty. They need to be things of a good report. And when you focus on the stuff of a good report, you're never in a storm. And you just stay peaceful. And it really does make a big difference. Those little bitty things, those little bitty roaches, the little bitty wasp. And what are you dealing with right now that you ought to be able to hold out your hand to and simply say, be at peace. And even the insects will feel your spirit, will calm down, light on your hand, be at peace, and fly away. That choice is up to each and every one of us, each and every day, with everything that we face. We have two paths we can take. Or be at peace. It's why the greeting so often in so many religions is simply shalom, which is peace, or assalamu alaikum, peace be unto you. Or brethren, I wish above all things that ye prosper and be in health. I thank you for joining us today at Brothers of the Word. You can go to brothersoftheword.com, listen to this entire series entitled Peace in the Storm, absolutely free at brothersoftheword.com. Thank you for joining us today at Brothers of the Word, because, brother, you need the Word.